So we're at the point of the season where things will start to get wild, and where they'll close some chapters, plots and storylines, but where they set up new ones as we head into season 2 of Force. And we all know a war is coming with the Serbs, Walter Flynn and Jenard, but there is a lot of family secrets that do need to be revealed as well, not just with D-Mac, JP and Tommy, but also with Kate Egan. So all of these issues will need to be addressed in episode 9 and 10. But not everything will conclude in season 1. For example, I don't think Jenard will die anytime soon, and I don't think any of the Flynns are going anywhere either, but they will be setting up this epic war with Walter Flynn and the Serbs. There's also the other plots, with Adrian, Officer Bennigan and Marshall. But as usual, I'm going to run through the promo images and any exclusive clips that were released, and I am going to stay away from the leaks, because even though there are a few leaks floating around of episode 9, not everybody wants these spoilers, and I do tend to stay away from them on this channel, but I am going to link down below Lamont Tyson, who's a very good friend and a fellow Power YouTuber, and I believe he went through one specific clip, so I will be linking his channel down below in the description and comment section. So as usual, we're just going to run through the synopsis, images, and any of the exclusive clips. So with that being said, let's start with the synopsis for Trust, and it reads: Vic faces a devastating loss, Walter is ready to go to war and sends in for heavy hitters. Tommy soon realizes he needs more power, but is turned down by one of his closest allies, and is forced to turn to an unlikely resource. So let's start from the beginning with how Vic has come to the realization he's now lost Gloria for good. And we're gonna see him at the hospital where he's cut up pretty bad, and he really is lucky to be alive. But who's to blame for Gloria's death? Is it Walter, Tommy, or Vic Flynn himself? And last week during my trailer breakdown, I mentioned Vic really does need to take a hard look at himself, because he's the one who made a huge mistake when he took his own car instead of the one that Tommy gave him, and this is what put him in the position to get caught by the Serbian twin. And over the week, there were a lot of questions about who was behind the hit in the first place. Was it Walter Flynn? Because he did have the hit out on Gloria in the first place, but he told Uncle Paulie to call it off, which he already did. But there was also Uncle Paulie, because many question whether he's working an angle. For example, does he want to get rid of Vic and Walter Flynn so he can take over? But putting all these theories to one side, I do believe it was the Serbs, and I'll go back to something I said around 2 weeks ago. There is just no way Walter Flynn would risk a war with the Serbs if he was the one who was behind these attacks in the first place, because it really makes no sense. So there's my take on whether it was Walter Flynn, Uncle Paulie, or the Serbs. But we are going to see Walter with Vic Flynn in the hospital, and no doubt Vic will throw some blame in the direction of Walter, because he's made his feelings clear about Gloria on more than one occasion. But it does seem like they're going to put things right, because nothing brings family together like tragedy, and it just depends on how Walter Flynn plays this with his kids. And it does seem like he'll have both of them on his side for this war. So let's talk about this war with the Serbs, because the second part of the synopsis tells us Walter Flynn is ready for war, and he's going to send in for heavy hitters. So in the trailer, we saw these heavy hitters coming in from Ireland, but there doesn't seem to be too many of them. And one thing we know about the Serbs is they have numbers. But sometimes it's not numbers that win you a war. It's about tactics, strategy, and knowing the city of Chicago, and working as a team. And this is why Walter Flynn will be telling Claudia he's putting a war room together, and where we actually see her in the war room in this exclusive image. But what changed? Because all season he's been telling Claudia this is a man's job and she needs to stick to what she does best, which is the books. But as I mentioned, nothing brings family together like tragedy and death. And there was also this image that 4 Stars released a while ago on Instagram, which we haven't seen yet, but this is why I expect the family to come together, because if Walter Flynn is trusting Claudia with a gun in hand, then he definitely has had a change of heart about her position. So that's the Flynns from the synopsis and promo images. So let's talk about Tommy being turned down by a close ally, forcing him to an unlikely resource. Now, Tommy doesn't have many allies in Chicago apart from Diamond, and as we know, he's used the CBI before when he came to attacking the Serbs, but it doesn't seem like he's down with Tommy, and I think he's learned his lesson from last time because of how they lost Elijah, and Jenard's been acting too wild ever since. And this is why we saw Tommy go to the Serbs in the trailer, where he was paying for an army, and where Tommy has built a real organization with Dr. Williams and JP as his cooks, D-Mac in the cash house, which we're going to come to in just a moment, and Liliana doing the Dahlia drops. But one thing he lacks is soldiers, which is why a lot of us in the comment section have been saying 2-Bit would be perfect for Tommy in Chicago, because he's a real street soldier as well as loyal, and he's someone who can get shit done for Tommy without him having to get his hands dirty himself, because under the 48 laws of power, all great leaders get shit done without getting their hands dirty. But let's see whether 2-Bit does show up in episodes 9 or 10. But let's talk about his current right-hand woman, who's Liliana, because this was an exclusive clip that was released of Liliana telling Tommy Vic was ambushed, but he did survive, but there was no word on Gloria, and that's because she's dead. And it's why we see Tommy looking into Dr. Parker's office, which is Gloria's bar, because he wanted to make sure Vic and Gloria got out of Chicago safe. Because if there's one thing we've learned about Tommy is, he's a sucker for family, but he's also a sucker for love. So with that being said, let's talk about his family next, which is JP and D-Mac, and let's start with JP first, because in episode 8 we saw him calling Kate, but it definitely wasn't Tommy who gave him Kate's number. I'm sure she was the emergency contact at the hospital, but we don't actually know what went down in this conversation between Kate and JP, so we need to hear what JP has to say. But you can sense Kate is coming, it is just a matter of when and not if, and that's not good news for Tommy, because he doesn't want anything to do with Kate, because of how they ended things in season 6, episode 13, and how she always chose to love Ghost more than him. But it is a reunion that we all need to see, because there is definitely a reason why Kate kept all these secrets from JP and Tommy, and she may very well have a valid reason for doing so. But on to Tommy and his other family, who's D-Mac, and this is the position that Tommy has been playing, which is in a cash house, because Tommy saw how D-Mac has a mind for numbers, and this really is the perfect position. But it does seem like D-Mac and Marshall have made up, and they seem like they're up to no good, with the other side of this shot being Cousin Buddy from Gary. And I went through my death predictions earlier on in the week, with Marshall and Cousin Buddy high up on the list. And let's just say, if Cousin Buddy is fucking with D-Mac, then he's fucking with Tommy as well. But I also went through how even though Tommy's faced a lot of death and pain in his life in New York, he hasn't suffered any real big losses in Chicago, apart from Grandma Miriam Egan, but he never really had a close bond with her for it to be impactful. So I do think something will either happen to JP, D-Mac, or Kate. For example, with Kate coming back and ODing on Dahlia, that would really be quite poetic in a way. But let's see what happens with this storyline with Kate, JP, and D-Mac, because I don't think this story will conclude in episode 9 or either in episode 10. I think it's something that's going to rumble on into season 2, 3, 4, however long Force goes on for. So let's see what happens in episode 9. But this is the last image, which is of Officer Bennigan being the one who had the gun at the back of Diamond's head in the trailer, because he definitely is being held ransom for more cash by this cop. And Officer Bennigan is another character who I think is on the chopping block, but Diamond is a changed man, and just like Ghost used to, he'll know that killing a cop is way too risky, which is why he'll never want that type of attention. So we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens with this storyline, but this is one I hope they do conclude by the end of season 1. And that's the promo images and the exclusive clip that was released for episode 9. And the episode which looks like it's going to be heavily centered around the Flynns, and everybody gearing up for war with the Flynns, bringing in their guys from Ireland, and Tommy making his move with the Serbs. So drop all your thoughts and predictions down below in the comment section, and of course if you're new to the channel and you haven't done so already, then remember to smash the subscribe button if you want to see everything Power Book 4 Force and Power Universe related. But as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.